we're going?
Yep,
we're good?
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Jason and Nolan, thanks for sitting down with me. Thanks for having us at your office to do this. And, I just wanted to start with Modal and what you guys are up to with this company and where you see it going. If you can give me a little overview of the company and where you guys want to take it.
I've always been fascinated by the future. What is the future, and what is that sandbox that allows us to do more compelling constructions of fantasy, of games, of interactivity? And Jason came to me and said that he had it, and I put on the headset and was hooked, and I said, I'm in.
Maybe like the fifth time he put on the headset.
Oh, yeah.
I met Nolan and I had showed him the progress, and he kept saying, yeah, good, pretty good, not quite there yet. And I was like, I'm determined to knock his socks off. And I think that, the team was, okay, well, we'll get there. And so every few months I'd say, no, come by and check it out. And first time you tried, this is a long time ago now. Nowadays this kind of thing seems commonplace, but it was
really early.
This is
when was it?
4.5, 5 years,
yeah,
4 years ago.
Was it 4?
I don't know, something
Maybe,
like that.
I don't think so. I think it was less than 3.
Yeah.
Well, the very beginnings of it, though, the very beginnings.
Oh, the very beginnings.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, when
day in the soccer field.
Yes,
that was magic.
That was the ultimate moment. So I'd shown him, I don't know, 3 or 4 versions of it earlier, and it worked, but it only worked for like 3 minutes, and the whole thing would crumble.
A lot of drift and
yeah.
I remember literally in Sausalito, California, Jaron Lanier, who's considered kind of the godfather of all this.
Yeah.
And of course, the computers were slow, and the lag
CRT
was
monitors.
crazy, and
Yeah.
and we had, and they had this thing called the Polhemus, which was a electromagnetic thing, that was.
They still make it.
They still make it.
Mm-hmm.
Which and it was okay technology, but it was one of those things where it'd make me sick every time I did it, and I took the attitude that you can't make a business of making people sick. Curing them, maybe.
The Polhemus was basically a 6 degree of freedom. Early 6 degree of freedom thing, and it was mainly for avionics and things like that. But
what year are we talking to?
I think it might have been 81, 82.
Okay. And that was like some of the first VR coming out.
Yeah, it was funded by Autodesk, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So then people started messing around with it in virtual constructs.
Huh. And that's okay. So it was for like navigation then, avionics, or
tracking your movements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So early tracking, but electromagnetic. We were using electromagnetics for a short time. We went through at Modal. We went through every possible tracking technology you could imagine.
Huh.
The electromagnetics are very, very accurate and very fast, but they're electromagnetic, so the dipoles can get interfered with really easily.
Yeah.
So if you have a steel beam, and then calibrating with electromagnetics is very difficult, and there can be new things introduced very easily that'll break the dipole and distort the tracking.
So how did you two meet then?
Jason wrote a TV show.
Yeah, I came up with a concept for a TV show.
And said, and it was basically an entrepreneurial show where you were judging entrepreneurial outcomes as opposed to talent.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. We sold the pilot.
It's kind of like a precursor to the Shark Tank.
It was before Shark Tank. It was called App Wars because we had a game studio, and everyone would always hit us up for app ideas. I got the best app idea. I got this, and on and on and on. And I said, you know what? This would be a good show.
Yeah.
You pitch your app idea, and then if the judges after a certain amount of time, you choose your idea, then you pair you up with a developer. Basically, all the people that would hit me up, I'd say, this could be a show.
Cool.
And so that's where we started. My friend Lance and I, he's a TV producer.
Okay.
And so we started pitching it, and we sold it to GSN, a pilot. And I wanted, there was a few judges that I wanted, but I said, I definitely, absolutely don't want to do this without Nolan. And then, and then they hired
Nice.
Nolan as a judge for
Okay.
the pilot and stuff. So it never was.
Then we started hanging out and found out that we could create 7 companies in a lunch.
7 ideas.
Well, I thought I was the craziest person until I met Nolan. He's much crazier than me.
Yeah, with the entrepreneurial
Just
spirit.
creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, Nolan is just a fountain of ideas constantly, and I'm the same way, not on his level, but
You're very good.
Thanks, buddy. But it's just fun. Nolan and I get along well because we just love just throwing as much macaroni at the wall as we can, and just like it was one of the things we would meet to talk about something that we'd never actually talk about it because we'd invent 7 or 8 businesses. We were sharing ideas and sharing technology, and so we hit it off really well.
So you just kept in touch, and so you didn't have any ideas, or like it wasn't pitching a business to do a business. You kind of just kept in touch.
No, I was working on the Modal stuff. I was
okay.
working on the VR stuff very early on in those days. I was. The Oculus DK1 wasn't even out yet.
Okay.
And I was working on things in anticipation of the DK1 of what I would want to do with it.
Okay.
And so when I met Nolan on the set of App Wars, I was talking to him, and everyone was talking to you and getting your autograph and this and that, and I kind of kept a low profile, and the shoot was a few days, and I hadn't really approached Nolan because I didn't want to bother him, and we didn't know each other then. And so then at the very last day of shooting, I said, well, I better go talk to Nolan because this is like the last chance I'll have to talk to him. And then I said, oh, how you doing, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I'm Jason. I actually created the show. And he was like, oh, cool, yeah. And then I started, and then he was kind of not interested. And then I said, well, this is cool and everything, but this isn't really what I do. It's kind of a fluke that I was able to make a TV show and sell it. But what I really am working on is this VR thing. And then Nolan kind of perked up and said, ooh, tell me more. And so I said, well, if I can, I think you had an assistant with you, and I said, if I can get on your calendar, we can have lunch. And that's how and then we met, and we didn't talk about VR at all.
Okay, yeah.
We just talked about 9,000 other things. I showed him some of the games my studio was doing, and it was just fun. It was like getting his feedback, and then it was, quite very, I don't know, probably a year of showing you progress, and then I think it was in March or April of 2015 or 14, maybe, I don't know. I showed him the prototype that got him on board, and Nolan's seen everything. He sees things 10 to 15 years out, and he's seen every possible technology.
I'm kind of like the father professor of lonely engineers fighting, and everybody who are naysayers, and and I like to feel like it's just a little encouragement at the right time. Can really be powerful for these people, because a lot of people don't realize that creativity is very lonely, and the more radical the idea, the less likely that you have a constituency.
Right.
Like you never get anything creative out of a democracy.
Yeah.
And I always take a little bit of credit because, I was friends with Steve Jobs in the early days.
The first person to hire Steve Jobs, right?
First person to hire Steve. And I always said, hey, if you're in a room of 50 people and you have an idea and all 50 people say that it's stupid, but you know in your heart that it's right, go for it.
Yeah.
Because those people, one, some people are actually very challenged by the future. They're afraid of it. Other people just don't understand it because it's too different, and so it doesn't fit any of their frames of reference.
Yeah.
And then the idea at its onset, you haven't figured out a way to properly present it. And so there's all this noise between the idea and the people you want to convince. And so all that says that go for it yourself.
Yeah.
If you believe in it, that's how true innovation happens.
Yeah.